Hi, everybody. Well, people have dropped off. Huh? We were at 11. So thanks for those of you who are on. Sorry about that mishap. Technology, never. the infamous technology problems. But hopefully we'll get a few more people on. And either way, I think the first session was very, very informative, and hopefully people have, there's so much we've gleaned, learned from the experiences of those developers. Developers are the bravest amongst us, I think, braver than architects, braver than QSs and project managers and urban planners who are in the room. So we have a panel just now of experts. We're calling ourselves experts, and I'll introduce the team shortly. But Robin will play a video in the interim as we're waiting for a bit more quorum. Thanks. Robin, you able to play?
Yep. Here we go.
Do you want to build in Kenya?
Do you want to build in Kenya and make money from it?
If you answered yes to any of these questions,
want to
build in Kenya?
Then our Building in Kenya online classes. Do you want to build in Kenya and make you money from it?
My name is Emma Miloyo, and I'm an architect with questions. Over 15 years of experience in Kenya, and I'm also the past president of the Architectural Association of Kenya, and of course had a wonderful book called Building in Kenya.
And my name is Robin Emerson. I'm an urban planner with over 20 years of experience. I'm the former CEO of Kenya Property Developers Association, and my name is Robin and the proud co-author of Building in with over 20 Kenya.
Building in Kenya is a one-stop informational resource for real estate development in Kenya. It provides you with step-by-step guides for every process, from buying land to actually getting county approval, and it helps you assess all the risks involved in each of these stages.
Building in Kenya has put context around the real estate market. We have interviewed experts, consultants on all of these steps: the land process, the financing, the contracting, the permitting process, and we put it in a way that has you be effective at building in Kenya.
After taking the Building in Kenya online course, you will be equipped with actionable tools that will help you through the process of building in Kenya, and your knowledge of the sector will be improved.
So sign up for the course at buildingin.kenya.co.ke. You will find the sign up link there, and we look forward to seeing you in our courses. buildingin.kenya.co.ke. You will find the sign up link.
A little bit of pantomiming going on there, looks like. I think we get the gist of it. Uh-oh. Can't hear you, Emma.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah. Wonderful. So thanks. I see people are coming in, and apologies for that technical hitch. Yeah, technology is supposed to be your friend, but it's sort of a frenemy, It always lets you down at one point in time. Yeah, like all of us do. So it's wonderful to be back. But Robin, thank you so much for that first session. It was really nice to hear from the horse's mouth, developers themselves. I was just saying earlier that they're the bravest amongst us. We like to pretend that we're brave, and we are the architects and the QSs and the PMs, but the people really with the guts are the people who get down to building and developing and putting their money where their mouths are. And it was just wonderful to even hear Jamie and Linda's stories, and how the yearning is actually to provide a solution. It comes from not only developing for developing's sake, but it was wonderful to hear how they they're looking to give a solution for housing and low-income housing, for that matter, for the two of them. So we have a wonderful session now, part 2, talking to experts. I think Linda was very categorical, saying professionals. You think you're going to save some money? And this has been my mantra for the last couple of months. You need your professionals. And Linda said it herself. She had an 8-to-5 job. She looked at the figures. She's going to save 30%, but when she looks back, she said she's so grateful that she actually handed over the project to a contractor to do it because of the dynamics of who she was. So I think, and Jamie said, developers are vision bearers. You're the person who's bringing everybody onto the team. You're the one choosing people. You have to know why you're doing the project. It's very fundamental. Where you're going to do it. Understanding yourself as a person first, but it determines a lot of dynamics on the kind of project you're going to do. So that was very, very, very informative. So I'll just go around the room. Robin and I have introduced ourselves, and if you don't know us by now, you will soon. But we are co-authors of a book called Building in Kenya, wonderful resource. Knowledge is power, literally. And now we've gone online. We have an online course. We're in the, demand watching, and now there's demand learning, moving at your own pace. If you're not quite the reader, we have a solution for you. We have an online course, and we also have a giveaway today, a freebie for the person with the most tweets. And I'll just put everything there on the chat for those who will want to be tweeting along. But I want to first start with Olivia then. Olivia, since you're the first on my screen, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, and then we'll move to Steve. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Yeah, so my name is Olivia Otieno Mwembe. I'm a quantity surveyor by training and also a construction project manager. I'm a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, Department of Real Estate, Construction Management and Quantity Surveying. But I also run a construction company called Mwembe and Mwembe Associates. And I have passion in training. My desire normally as a professional is to make sure that there's professionalism in construction from beginning to the end. And I'm delighted to be here to share what I know about construction and with the people who are attending. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Olivia. Steve, please tell us about yourself.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me as well. Fantastic. So my name is Steve Kivuva. Currently, I'm heading a firm called Ahead Consulting Ltd, where we do focus on development economics, or what you would call transaction advisory, which talks much on pre-development consulting in laying out a profitable project. We also do project management and also project financing, that is sourcing financing for projects. My background and training is in construction management from the University of Jomo Kenyatta. I've done a lot of rounds in many facets of construction. I started off with construction project management. I did a couple of iconic developments in Nairobi, did Coca-Cola in Upper Hill Equity Headquarters, did Deloitte Headquarters. And at some stint, I worked with Emma, where we did a PwC Tower in Westlands, among other buildings. Then later, I joined Housing Finance as head of project finance for 4 years until 2014, running a portfolio of about 12 billion in projects. And then after that, I joined Econ Group as a director of business development. And I think one of my iconic projects that we laid out is Equator Student Housing, which is underway now. That's basically it. I have other interests in retail, in natural construction, and also in microcredit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve, and great to have all of you experts, as it were. And maybe I want to start with you, Steve, because there was a question in the other panel and someone was asking, about financing and return on investment. So I just want to start with you and from a financing perspective, what models, I mean, there's so many models out here. We've seen the pre-sale model, not very popular, but still people who are managing to, developers with a good reputation, still managing to pull off the pre-sale model. But as a first-time builder, when I'm maybe in the scenario of my own home and a scenario of a small project, when I'm sort of testing the waters and I want to see put up a block of apartments like Jamie and Linda, what financing models are available and what are the pitfalls, pros and cons of the models? Maybe you could just speak to that, because money is everything, Yeah.
Certainly, and I think people get into projects to make money. So there are various models of financing or sources of financing, if you will. Typically, there are people who are quite risk averse, and they'll say they would want to use your own money, what you call equity, your own equity. I'm always careful to say that lending, using your own money is expensive, because ideally the cost of using your own money is the kind of return on equity you're looking at, and in some real estate products you're looking at north of 30%. So loosely put, using your money, the cost of it is about 30%. And so by extension, I always say that look for senior debt, which is arguably cheaper in this, not at least in this country. We're talking about 13.5% at the moment. And if people also choose to look at your industry sector, they can even vary your cost because of the risk adjustment. So the typical financing will be equity, would be a debt, will be other structured financing, like you would see, like what Jamie said earlier with regard to structured financing, like joint venture approaches. We also have non-cash flow finance approaches, where you're talking about deferment of fees by a consultant, or deferment of the contractor, the retention by the contractors. So it's a non-cash flow. You're not paying them until the completion of the project. And loosely put, there is nowadays a lot of pre-sales financing. I am always careful not to leverage a lot on that, because if the market dips, like for example what we saw in the last two or so years with COVID and all that, then you're exposing your project into heavy financing gap. For me, I would want to look more into both a combination of equity and debt, and I always say that beginning of every project, make sure that the project is fully financed. If you go to a bank and you're looking for money, and then they tell you, look, while you're applying, let's say for 1 billion Kenya shillings or 500 million shillings, they say we can only afford 300 million shillings. You get the offer letter, you get access to the funds, but until you plug in that gap of 200 million shillings, please don't start. I've seen people who also are quite, developers who are quite, leverage heavily on sales. You hear somebody say that our project, we're looking at 30% coming from pre-sales. Please don't. Markets many times tank, and when they tank, then you're left with a big hole. So many times I would say work with a very moderate assumption of 5 to 10%, and push in terms of your cash flow planning towards the end of the project. I hope I've answered your question correctly.
And the whole financing matter is a course and a book on its own. So we're just really touching and giving people snippets and guiding them so they can also dig deeper. And one thing is to get the book and dig deeper. But even the book just touches it, because building is such a complex project, from financing. I saw someone talking about sales at the end and property management. So it's so big that really our message today is to everyone who wants to build is equip yourself. Equip yourself with webinars like this, equip yourself with courses, books, talk to people, find experts. I know everyone knows someone who's a QS or a PM or head of HF financing portfolio. So everyone has, a network which they can tap to. But I really like what you've, given us a good overall picture. Talked about equity, debt, and how those are the best. I know a lot of people are doing JVs. You've touched on that, the whole topic on its own as well. And then also on the matter of pre-sales and having that at the end of your project in terms of plugging in any cash flows and not relying on it from the onset. So thank you for that overview. I'll come back to you later, because I also want a conversation around someone building for their own home. What are the options? Does your advice also about not using your own money for such also apply? But I'll come back to you on that. Quickly over to Olivia. Olivia is also a finance. Olivia is a jack of all trades, as it were. Looking at it, she started as a QS. and essentially QSs are very important. Steve is important in a project when you're packaging your project and you're looking at the model that you're going to go with. But people like Olivia are very important through the life cycle of your project. Now, she as a QS, and she wears two hats, a QS and a contractor, so she will give us, that aspect. But as a QSs help you to mitigate risk throughout, financial risk especially. So as you have your model from Steve and you're saying A, B, C, D, your QS is also ensuring you're not having certain overruns, or you're mapping those overruns and then coming back and plugging with Steve and saying, okay, we've overrun on this. What do we do? But Olivia, I want to ask you in terms of construction itself, and also the aspect of managing costs. How do you mitigate risk? Because I think everybody gets into a project not wanting to fail. Everyone wants to build successfully in a project. What are some of the tools and that the people can use to ensure that they've managed risk? And one of the biggest risks is actually the financial one. Everything sometimes is down to money. So from your experience, both as a QS and a contractor, can you just speak to that and how people can be able to, keep their eyes on the money?
Thank you, Emma, and thank you for putting it pretty well. Yes, I wear two hats. I'm still a QS who has also got an interest, and I vetted into construction. And one of the reasons really is because for a long time, construction industry was left for quacks. And even to date, you find that there are many contractors in the industry who don't know anything about construction, but they get projects and they deliver them. The ones who engage professionals actually deliver them pretty well. So when we talk about risks, what I can say is a person once said that the minute you mention the word construction projects, risk is there in abundance. Contractors normally cope with risks, but the owners pay for it. So one thing we have to know is that at the end of the day, as a developer or as the person who's building, the risks are part and parcel of the project. And when we talk about risks, there are actually many risks. It's not just finance risk. We have human resource risks. We have technological risks. Like even now, during this webinar, we were relying on technology, and it's kind of, So even when we are building, money is one of them. You could hire an architect or an engineer or a QS who is not experienced in the type of project that you're talking about or that you're giving them. And that's a risk. That's a human risk. And we have had scenarios where you get a professional believing that they know what they are doing, but at the end of the day, they don't deliver the project or the product as expected. So I actually believe that risk management is actually a scientific process. It's interesting that one of the units I offer the University of Nairobi master's class is actually risk management in construction projects. So this is something that I am familiar with. And maybe to try and simplify it, there are actually stages. If you're a lay person and you're not a construction expert, but there are simple ways of dealing with risk when you talk about your projects. The first thing is risk identification. Look at, what do I want to build? Where do I want to build it? Am I going to make returns? Do some simple checks. I know sometimes we do projects emotionally. You just say, oh, I feel so and so has developed apartments. Like now here, we saw very beautiful apartments by Aspire Heights. You can say, oh, Jamie has put up this apartment. I want to do the same. But your land may not be exactly where his land is placed. He might have done his feasibility studies, which you haven't done. So identify your risks based on the projects that you're doing. And then you classify them, how they are able to affect you and how they would be able to affect your project. And then you analyze. Analysis basically means looking at the consequences, the pros and cons. For example, a simple thing, we have questions here, people talking about buying off-plan or buying a ready product, or somebody talking about building my own home or buying my own home. The question that you should ask yourself is, do I want to take the risk of running through a construction project? if I am a developer or if I'm a client and I have no idea about the cost of cement, the cost of ballast, why do I want to build for myself? You know, that's the question you ask yourself, because how sure are you that when the suppliers bring the sand to your site, that sand is of good quality? So do you want to run with the risk of quality of the materials on your project when you don't have any idea? So risk analysis is very important. And finally, when you talk about risk management, the response is very key. How do you respond to that risk? You can either decide to transfer it or to retain it, because depending with your ability and capability, there are things you don't want to deal with. We have many ways of transferring risks. Insurance is one of them. Depending with what sort of, that's why when a contractor is doing a project, you request them to give you contractors all risk and all those kind of things to be able to take care of that risk of losing your money in case the building collapses or in case they are not able to perform. You have things like performance bond in place. But what I can say as I conclude on this question of risk and how to mitigate it is that a developer needs to make early decisions when it comes to risk management. Choose the right location, get the right people to advise you, and also get the right team and get the right financial model. Steve already spoke about the different types of models that are there, because you could do all these, but if your model of financing your project is wrong, then you're putting up yourself for failure. So I think that's what I can say in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Olivia. I didn't realize I was talking to someone who's lecturing on risk management, but wonderful way you've really summarized it and talked about absorbing risk or transferring it, but risks are there. That's granted. Steve, maybe you can speak to some pitfalls that you've seen first time or even experienced developers. We've seen developers who have been successful first time round, had a model that was working, didn't reinvent or adapt, and in the end, second time, third time round is when you're seeing companies or projects collapsing. They said not collapsing physically, but in terms of being abandoned. What are some of those pitfalls that you, even from a finance, and you have a construction management background, have you seen people make mistakes around and that we can avoid, as all of us on this webinar who are interested in building and developing?
Thank you, Emma. One main thing I would say, and I think I would just pick up on where Olivia's left it at, is that many times developers hand over their strategy to the consultants, and I think that's a big miss. I keep saying construction is quite a risky affair by virtue of the amounts of money involved. I mean, if you get into a project and you turn, number one, the liabilities, you're sitting with the banks, you've already committed all your monies, even the title that you had is already a collateral in a bank, so you're bound to lose this and everything. So I say you cannot afford to hand over your strategy. Yes, you can have good consultants, but you cannot afford to fully. And I say dirty your hands. Go to the site, feel it, smell the air on the site. It's interesting that you get a lot of information when you go spend time on your site you want to build. A neighbor will just walk in through there and tell you, we had so-and-so was doing blah, blah, blah. And you start getting a bit of information from the ground, if there is any, that is in this particular matter. So I keep saying that, you find time to do, a bit of, your strategy and don't hand it over. Number two is that there are many facets of construction that I would, I say many times is that try to, to dig in and get your proper knowledge around them. Even before you get to design, get a good, legal, for example, diligence on the title, surveys on the land, for example. Understand what happens. And there's a project you did next to where Jamie is doing a project, and what you saw on the site was rocks. When you started doing construction, and we assumed this rock is strong, what you didn't know, it was a field with the rocks boulders on top. We dug 6 meters deep, and that was an additional cost to lay our foundation. So many times I say, Yes, you may have a site, but do a good, surveys on it. Other things is that find out from the statutory organs what is it kind of, approvals you need. Do quite a bit of a detailed preliminary investigation on both the design, the product you want to do, location, they say, but there are also different products that fit a particular location. Today, if you take a kind of a house that is done in Runda and you put it in Syokimau, for example, which is a budding neighborhood, what's happening is that the kind of returns you would have gotten if you sell that house in Runda, it's not the same you do. Yes, you spend the same amount of cost. So you need to spend a bit of time to do a detailed preliminary investment review report, and of course, look at all scenarios like Olivia said on risks, and put them together, weigh them, see what it is that you can take in or not. Financing is critical. Again, also engage and make sure you close on that gap. And the aspect of engaging capable consultants with integrity and experience, the contractors and subcontractors, is of absolute importance. Of course, there are people who want to go the direction of doing labor contract, where you would want to buy the materials. You save your money, but it's also hectic. You spend a lot of time knowing, having the numbers of what sand transporters in this town and ballast transporters who tell you the right cement and steel and all that. Get the right pricing for your product and right sizing of the product. It's one thing to do a 3-bedroom house on Ngong Road. It could be a 3-bedroom house of 180 square meters. But you the right fit for that particular product to be able to get, let's say, a market of 10 million shillings. You probably need to do 110, 120 square meters. How do you get that information? Dutting your hands, get into the ground and knowing what kind of things that people are willing to purchase. So I spoke about experienced consultants, right product, right pricing, assembling the right team with capacity. And of course, like I said, try as much as possible, which is what I think I do that a lot, in establishing the viability of the project on paper with proper estimates and real estimates. Don't go say, I know people are selling the product 9 million, but I'm going to do such a nice project, I'm going to sell it for 15 million. Same market, and they have the options of moving to the next door neighbor to buy for 9 million. Yours is 15. Why should I spend an extra 6-7 million shillings to buy a product when I'm getting the same neighborhood and facility in the same neighborhood? So I guess a lot has to do with indulging yourself, dutting your hands at the very initial onset of the project. Spend a bit of coins. Don't be shy to spend some small money and to be able to establish the viability. That's what I have to say, Emma.
Thank you. I think you're speaking our language. Absolutely. That you're the vision bearer. You may have consultants, but you're the vision bearer. You're the one in control, and you guide us. And I'm speaking here as a consultant. That a project is pretty much what type of client you have, and I think even all of you can attest to that. Even from a construction point of view, the client you have really determines not only aesthetic, but even how you will run the project. You may listening to your consultants is very important, but knowing you're the one who's putting your money in this. It is your money at stake. It's not the architect's money at stake. So listen to your consultants, but be in charge. Drive it with their guidance. So you're speaking our language. We keep on saying measure, spend money on that viability, because you'd rather lose 500,000 and say this project was not viable than lose 500 million, into a project and sink money in, and it wasn't viable from the onset. So thank you for those words of wisdom. And Olivia, maybe even as Steve was talking about consultants, and you've spoken about it as well, I've seen a lot of people also in the previous chat just asking where do I know where to get a consultant from? How do I start a project? We've all, even Linda, emphasized that consultants are part of the risk mitigation. But where do I start? How do I know who's a good? You talked about sometimes your architect will make or break your project as well. How do I find out who's a good? How do I go through that due diligence to get good consultants and good contractors on my project? Could you just walk us through that?
Thank you very much, Emma. We could start from where we are. You're an architect, I'm a QS contractor, so half the team is already on board. But anyway, you need Robin first. Okay, Robin will get you the land and advise you the right place to build your right project. And of course, Steve can guide you with the financing. But I think, like we have all overemphasized on professionalism, it's good to know that we have bodies in this country that regulate professionalism. We have the architects and quantity surveyors regulated by CAP 525. And the board that registers them is called Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, which I'm the vice chairperson, by the way. Yeah, so if you want to get an architect, of course, if you go to the website, you can use the website to check whether they are registered and licensed. But because there are many, we are in thousands. Yeah, so you can't just go there and, you know, randomly pick. But it's good to talk to your friends who have built before, attend such webinars, get contacts, check the websites of AAK, IQSK, the professional bodies and associations which regulate our professions. We also have the Engineers Registration Board. If you wanted to know if an engineer is registered, because there's getting the professional to do the work, but there's getting the licensed registered, because we also have quacks. We have people masquerading. There are many people who can draw. We have softwares nowadays. There are people who can draw, but they may not be licensed to do that work. And so if you come across such a person, they can draw for you a building, but you'll find that this design is actually poor. Sometimes it's not even viable, because it's not just about drawing. It also comes with giving you advice, what to do. There are many zoning issues when it comes to urban planners. They'll tell you that if you're going to buy this piece of land here, know that the maximum floors that you can build is 5, for example, because you could end up buying a very expensive piece of land and not being able to maximize your profits because of zoning issues. So you can use referrals, use network platforms to be able to get the right people. But of importance is that to check whether they're licensed and to do whatever work they are doing. And that can be easily found by, from the boards that registers and regulates these professionals. I think that's what I can say.
Thank you so much. And also for contractors, we have NCA. So ensuring what category, you know, depending on the complexity of your project, ensuring your contractor is registered. And these are some of the things you can do to avoid what we've seen, the collapsing buildings, just hiring the right people from the onset, yeah? Steve, I'm back to you and to finance, because finance is a big convoy, and I'm picking up now questions from the poll, sorry, from the chat. And someone had asked about what is a good rate of return? How do I measure a good rate of return, especially when I'm investing in rentals? And where is the space for what they're calling silver apartments, semi-permanent houses? Is that something viable? And what is a good rate of return in that regard?
So yeah, good question you ask. Number one, I think the question of the returns is sector specific, in the sense that, of course, commercial, you know, there are various sectors. There's, you know, there's commercial, there's hospitality, logistics, there's residential.
I think the question was specific to residential, by the way, just for
yeah, I'm headed there. So even on residential, again, also it depends on you know, various sectors. They are high end. There's the apartment, and even on the apartment, you look at apartment on high end and all that. So the kind of returns I'll be looking at in terms of return on investment will be anything in the region of 20% in that particular sector. And so I mean, I don't know whether those are the kind of returns you're looking at. In commercial, you probably would, after you build, and this is probably an additional information I would want to just disseminate, is that typically when you build, people will build offices and sell them as, you know, areas per square foot, you know, rates of 12,000-13,000, or, you know, per square meter about 120,000-130,000. But I feel this is an important statement for me to say, because there's more returns if you build the office, get good tenancies, and then you sell at a yield about 8 to 10% of your annual income that you're making off the investment. So residential, I would go for about 20%. And again, also what you realize, and I would just probably say something that Olivia alluded to earlier, there's a particular, not Linda in initial presentation that currently the lower middle income is where you're having a lot of good returns, because also the sales are also sort of more guaranteed by virtue that there are more people in that particular bracket of demographic and yeah, I guess I've answered your question correctly.
Thanks a lot for that. Robin, can I throw it back to you in terms of polls? Then I'll just come round for one last round of comments and from our panelists. But could you?
Yes, most definitely. So we do have a poll that is up. We do want to hear from you in terms of what do you think are the some of our members, some of the people that were in attendance of the first session shared a couple of things, but we thought we'd break it down a little bit more on possible specific challenges. So I'm going to open up this poll now. If you would please. Which part of the process do you find to be most challenging? So please chime in, let us know. Is the poll open? Are you able to see it? Just want to confirm. There we go. Okay, I can see coming in.
Great, and we've got their support from family and business partners, so that will managing the relationship. There's deciding where to build. I saw a lot of questions around that. Is it working with professionals? Is it acquiring land? Is it securing planning and building approvals? Is it the tendering and contracting that you find most? Is it construction itself? Is it marketing your property? Is it financing? Yeah. Sharing the chat too is not a poll, we were told earlier. But these are actually chapters in our book and modules in our online course. So all of these are broken down in our online course, and you can find out more information. Remember, we're giving a complimentary online course today for the person who tweets the most and tags us, and I'll put it in the chat there. So continue putting in your polls as I ask Olivia, maybe any parting shots, anything that you really just want to leave people with. You've seen the interaction, you've seen the kind of questions people are asking. Olivia, any final words from you?
Yes, I think what I want to say when it comes to building in Kenya, I don't know what sort of an audience we have, but I believe there are people who are either interested in building now or even in the future. We cannot overemphasize the role of professionals in the construction of project, right from consultants to the contractor. And we have shared how you can be able to get them on board and also get references from the jobs that they have done before to be able to help you to gain confidence as to whether they can be able to deliver your project. In any project, there are normally three constraints that we all have to meet. The first one is time. If you're starting a project, I'm sure you don't want to build a project forever. You want to finish it within a certain time, because then the time also has cost implications. When you do a project for way too long, it has running costs, which ends up making the project very expensive. And so you have to plan your time right. You have to plan your finances. And Steve said that from the word go, you should know where all the money is going to come from. But above all, you must also be sure of the scope of what you want to do. Because sometimes you want to start a project, people are building, it could be apartments, you're reaching a certain level, you're like, can we add 2 or 3 more floors? It's like you're never sure from the word go. So that messes up a lot of things. It messes up your time, it messes up your financing. So be sure that time, budget, and scope is clear from the word go if you want to do a successful project. And also, let's always strive to comply. Shortcuts never work. I know Kenyans, we are very good at, not even Kenyans, natural human beings, we want to save money. And we want to save money through any means available. So let us what I've come to learn in construction is that unless you have built for many years and you really, really have the experience, there are certain things that, there are certain risks and there are certain things you don't want to do on your own, especially if you're a layman and this is an expert area that you may not understand. So avoid shortcuts, rely on the right people. People say professionals are expensive. Well, I could say you have to spend money to hire professionals, but in the long run, the value that they give you stands to save you more money than what you stand to lose. So my parting shot is let us dive into construction, but let us do the right thing so that we can be able to get value for our money even as we invest in the construction industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I think you, in terms of saying real estate is a very viable investment, yeah? Whether from sentimental point of view of having a roof over your head, or even just very good financial returns. It's very solid in that sense. So certainly welcoming everybody on this boat of real estate. Steve, tell us, parting short, what you just want to leave our audience with this morning.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emma. Two things. I think I'll just quickly touch on a question you asked earlier about people are looking at doing their own homes. And this is what I would say. You never get ready to start. At times I keep saying you start where you are at. The little savings probably you have. Many people actually are doing it through SACCO. We call it incremental construction, where you go get money from SACCO, you buy a plot, you push a bit, you pay off a bit, you have a bit of breath, you get some more money, you do some structures, and even you've seen people moving into homes when they are not yet ready. Of course, if you have a bit of enough income, you can go to a bank and get good enough amount to push your construction one and in one go. Please do. But at times I keep saying there's freedom in owning a home, but if you can build your home, just get started and get the right professional. I think you cannot underscore much more of that. My parting shot will be for any developer, and I think, Emma, you forgive me on this. Initially, in good old times, architects used to decide for developers what they would do. You would walk to an architect and say, I have a plot, and the architect would tell you, no, you're going to do a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and this will be the mixes, that's going to be the sizes and all that. But I think increasingly, and for you to be able to avoid any potential pitfalls, and also to bring back the developer to be the holder of the strategy, is to do the initial planning and what I'm calling development economics. So you structure the project on paper based on proper estimates and assumptions on ground. And I have a typical project that we spend a bit of time doing that on Gong Road. We're doing I think 425 apartments. And the time we spend has yielded. To me, that is a good example, because I think of the 165 units we did in phase 1, already before even completion, we sold about 110, even during these difficult times of COVID. Why? Because you try to match the project with the neighborhood and also the kind of target clientele you're looking at. So you can be able to do proper guesstimates on paper, work out your numbers, and that also, like Olivia said, you provide proper contingencies, both on time and budget, that you're able to have a room to to breathe in case of any small variation, and also design and cost engineering in the process of construction. So if you have a variation here, you know where you're going to lose your 1 or 2 shillings here and there to come back within your budget. So I would underscore the importance of professionalism, both from professionals and also the contractors, and also try to, before you get to a project, spend a bit of money to do a proper feasibility, and not just the typical feasibility you talk about in the name. Dirty your hands, go to the ground, find out what's happening, and craft a project that suits a particular site. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Back to measuring twice and cutting once. Measuring twice, cutting once. So thank you so much to our panelists. It's been wonderful having you on this morning, almost going to afternoon. Really, we've learned so much. I always learn so much, even just from these interactions, and we're encouraging everybody. Follow us on our social media platforms, BuyRentKenya and Building in KE. We're on all social. We just haven't got on TikTok. We have to figure out how we'll be dancing in front of sites, and we'll have a TikTok account soon. But follow us. And Steve, even as we're wrapping up, there's a question about tax. If you can answer it on the chat. It looks a bit technical. Just check on that even as we close. But thank you all. I'd just like to invite, even as we close, to invite our CEO of BuyRentKenya, Lizzie, to just say one or two things as we close, and just encouraging everybody, please, knowledge is power, buy the book, get the course, talk to people, be equipped even as you get into construction, whether it's your own small house or whether it's a big, massive investment that you're doing. Thank you so much, everybody, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful session. Santi?
Thank you.
Yes, so Stephen, Olivia, thank you for being here. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
You're
and then
welcome.
we can give space for Lizzie to come in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Haven't tweeted. This is the time to tweet.
So we can announce. I think we can announce who it is.
The winner. Awesome. Yeah. We have a winner.
One person who's out there going.
IBC. We're very quick.
Okay, great. He's able to come in here. Awesome.
Yeah.
One person who's out there going.
IBC. We're very quick.
Okay, great. Come in here. Awesome.
Lizzie, over to you.
All right. Good afternoon. Well, it's almost afternoon, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for participating today. Hi. Yep. At our Do You Want to Successfully Build in Kenya webinar. We truly hope you enjoyed this session with very engaging panelists on the challenges that one faces when constructing. And
there seems to be a relay somewhere.
Like a little bit of a lag. Sorry about that. I don't know why that's happening. A bit of a technical hitch today, which we apologize. But also it's been very interesting.
Yeah, it's not too loud, Lizzie. Actually, if you spoke over it, and you'd be able to and just finished, it's not a bad one. It's not. You could just finish it.
Yeah, great. So and also, I'm just getting equipped with solutions in the construction and real estate industry. So to our participants, Lucy Were of Plan Smart Developers, our ex-CEO and co-founder of BuyRentKenya, Jamie Pujara, Director of Aspire Heights, Olivia, Otieno, wow, wearing those many hats. I'm so proud of you and thank you so much. And also to Steve, MD of Ahead Consulting, Project and Transactional Advisory. It's been an honor. It's been an honor to have you present, and your participation ensured the success of our event. It was a great experience to cooperate with you, and of course, we appreciate the information, the time, and the service you have given for this event. Robin and Emma, gosh, just a note to thank you both for an excellent job on moderating today's panel. As always, you were impressively well prepared and extremely professional in the way you kept us at the height of our attention for the last 2 hours. Plus, you both are phenomenal in making these panelists always appear at their very best. Thank you too for choosing BuyRentKenya, the leading property portal in Kenya and your partner of choice, for the webinar series, mentioning us in your book, Building in Kenya, and of course for the Building in Kenya online courses. We will look out for more details on our website and our social media channels as we push this great venture ahead. If anyone has any questions that have not been answered during this live event, we plan to get back to you within a day or two, or if you missed out or couldn't attend today, we will post a recorded video of today's session on the BuyRentKenya YouTube channels and the BIK channels, social media channels. Please feel free to pass this information on to colleagues, friends, the general public, or anyone who may be interested. So we thank everybody. And as I close, with the holidays approaching, BuyRentKenya wishes all of you happy holidays. Keep safe. Remember to wash your hands and keep safe on the sites you're building.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lizzie. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for the partnership and the friendship. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Emma. Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you. And we have a winner. We have a winner, Sheila Ojuang. Sheila Ojuang, thank you so much for all your tweets. You're the highest, you got the highest number of tweets today. We'll open the server for those who want to check. But Sheila will be getting in touch with you. Thank you so much for tweeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone share this, yes, and about the course. You can find it on both of our platforms about the course. Thank you. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.